Good morning, afternoon, evening, folks, whatever time it is when you see this, folks. Today I'm working on a 2009 Ford F-150 with the 5.4 Triton. The thing I was tackling here was an engine swap, but I specifically in this video wanted to go over the oil dipstick tube and talk about how a pain in the butt it is to install with the cab on, with the exhaust in the way, and stuff like that. The Dorman part number for it is as follows here in the video. I got it from O'Reilly's. I think it was like 25, 30 bucks ish. And when the exhaust is in the way, because of the various bends you got to go through, it gets hung up around the motor mount, and there's no clear indication as to where it gets routed. I always thought it kind of went in between here. You know, when everything's on, it's really hard to get a bearing as to where it went. So my exhaust manifold gaskets, I put a little bit of silicone behind them just to hold them in place, because when you go to put the manifold on, they always want to fall. So what I did is I found the only way I could get that sucker in is to unbolt the exhaust manifold. A lot of you guys aren't going to have the luxury of having the assembly above you in the sky like this, but what you can do is unbolt the fender well, or remove the fender well. Little plastic sucker there. Most of them are held in by 5.5 millimeter bolts. And then there's some plastic tabs that you'll have to remove. And this is going to be really difficult, but if you can get all the exhaust manifold bolts off that are 13s, the power steering pump will be in the way on the front, so you'll have to climb underneath and kind of go through the channel of hell to get the ones on the bottom. So the exhaust manifold, or excuse me, the dipstick gets bolted on that one little hole right there, and it's an 8 millimeter head. So we know that the tube needs to be facing forward of the engine, so we're gonna have to make sure it's faced like so. So when we go down, we're not gonna go in between the motor mount, we're gonna go on the very back side of the motor mount. So it's gonna be parallel to these two back studs here, but not the very last ones. And when you go in, the hole is right back there. So you're gonna be on the front of the motor mount. Let's see. And then you'll be able to go right in. So it's got a little rubber O-ring on the end of it. And I should have put a little bit of oil on that seal. I'm just gonna wiggle it a bit. Just kind of twisting it at the same time. And then I want visual verification that I'm all the way in, seated. And yeah, you can see right there, I'm fully seated. At which point, when you're fully seated, go ahead and get it parallel onto the cylinder head. Here's my little 8 millimeter bolt. Sorry, I'm upside down now. It's hard to do this with one hand. So I'm just gonna hand screw that in because I've got to get verification that I can get my exhaust manifold on. Because if you look right here, boy, it's tight right there. The tube and that stud. So I'm gonna see if I can set this camera down, because I can't do both. Let's see. Now we're gonna try to get the exhaust manifold on. And yeah, that went on so much easier. I've tried to do this in cab. I have never been able to get that tube in with the exhaust manifold on, ever. Now, if someone can, I applaud them. because it's a very tight channel it's got to go through. And then to make that bend down here around the exhaust, motor mount, it's that close proximity to the motor mount that makes it hard to get it into the block without bending the heck out of it. So for you folks that have to change a motor, order one ahead of time on that part number I was telling you about, the Dorman 921-058. Order that ahead of time. Install it when the engine's out and the exhaust manifold. If the exhaust manifold's on, remove the exhaust manifold. Make sure you put some new gaskets on there. Like I said, I used a little bit of silicone on the backside, just a very little. Yeah, it's gonna smoke, it's gonna burn. It'll be okay. But those gaskets like to fall off, and being that they're individual, it's hard to hold them all on, you know? So hopefully this video was helpful. I try to do videos on ones that I've had trouble with. That way the next fella or gal doesn't have a hard time. Thanks for watching.